Good morning everyone, I hope you're all having a fantastic day. Just a quick note before we get started. Next week I'm going to be uploading a new cover that I've been working on for the past 3 weeks. I'm really excited for all of you to hear it. It's a bit bigger than covers I've done in the past. Here's a quick sample. That's all you're getting today. Right, so today I'm going to be talking about my setup for these little videos that I make. I've had a couple of different people asking me about the equipment that I use, so if this is of any interest to anyone or there's anyone who was looking at making videos themselves and want a bit of advice, then I hope this can be helpful for you. My main setup has always consisted of 4 different things. A Canon EOS 700D, a Canon 1 to 1.8 50mm lens, an AKG C3000B microphone, and an iMac. That's the kind of baseline setup that I always used pretty much since I started this channel. Since then, however, I have added bits and bobs to my collection. 2 things that I think are so useful when it comes to making YouTube videos are softboxes. These are 2 incredibly useful things to have, but they are not in any way essential. Practically every single video that I released when I was living in the house last year was filmed with entirely natural light. So if you don't have any proper lighting, sit right in front of a window and you'll be amazed at the difference that makes. But having some proper lighting can really make things so much easier. One of the main differences that it's meant for me is that I can actually film at any time of day. Back when I was only using natural light, I was very limited to the time frame that I had to film videos. Taking into account the fact that I'm a full-time student at university and I have a job, especially during winter, it would be so difficult to actually just find an hour of time to film a video in. But having these softboxes means that I can film whenever I want and it will always look the same. I've got my phone here and I'm going to quickly show you now exactly what my setup looks like. So this is what it looks like from my perspective when I'm filming a video. The softboxes are a little bit too bright, so I'm going to turn them off and kind of walk you through what I use. As you can see, the front-on shot has become really, really dark now because the ISO on the camera is down so low. This is to try and avoid getting too much noise in the footage. I've got the camera placed on a tripod at about eye level, and then to the sides of that, I've got both of the softboxes. Coming down from that, I've got my AKG C3000B, which is the microphone that pretty much all of my videos audio is recorded with. It's literally just sat on top of my bed, feeding into my computer's audio interface. One thing I will say is important when you're filming a video is to always look into the actual lens of the camera right there. There's nothing worse than watching a YouTube video when the person is just constantly looking at their own reflection in the side. It is quite hard not to do that when you first start, especially if you've got a flip out screen, but just don't do it. I'm going to turn the softboxes back on now and revert to the previous shot. That's a lot better. So let's talk about lenses quickly. As I said before, this is being shot through a Canon 50mm lens. Now they're great lenses, really, really affordable, and they can give you that effect where you have a really, really blurry background and you're really sharply in focus. But to be totally honest, their greatest strength is also one of the biggest disadvantages of them. I use the manual focus on it, but the issue is that the lens zooms in a lot on the shot. It's too far away for me to physically change the focal length if I'm standing in shot. So with a shot like this, if I extend my arm like that, there's probably another 2 to 2.5 feet before the camera is actually in reach. So you've got to make sure that before you start filming anything, the focus is absolutely perfect. I tend to get my microphone and put it where I will be standing and then use that as a reference point, but even that doesn't always work because there is such a shallow depth of field. A few inches will make a difference. Right now I'm fairly confident that I'm pretty sharply in focus, but if I take one step back, I've completely up the shot. The Canon 700D has a flip out screen which is so useful, but when you're standing as far away from it as I am, you can't see the difference on the screen between this and this, but there is definitely a difference when you watch the footage back. It's one of my biggest worries whenever I film a video that I'm going to get the footage on the computer and it's all going to be out of focus. As far as other lenses are concerned, the 700D came with a standard 18 to 55mm kit lens. I used this once or twice on some of my really, really early vlogs, but I haven't really used it at all recently. It's a great starting lens, and if you've got nothing else, then this will definitely do the job. The other lens that I've got is the Canon 10 to 18mm wide-angle lens. The last video that I uploaded was shot using this, but I bought it for some specific planned vlogs that I'm going to make. This thing is really, really great, and I absolutely love the perspective that you get when you're using it. I'll show you now on this camera the difference between the 50mm and the 10 to 18mm lens. So this is the 50. This is the 10 to 18mm lens, and bear in mind that it's only at 18mm now. If I change it to 10, it looks like this. I'm only about 4 feet away from the camera. Having a lens that can do this is so useful, especially when it comes to vlogging, because it means that you can have the camera really, really close to your face and still have pretty much your whole upper torso in shot. So if you want a really good vlogging lens, get a wide angle. I'm going to swap it back to the 50 now. There are only really 2 other bits of equipment that I use for filming my videos. The first of which is a Joby GorillaPod. Now these are absolutely everywhere, and that's for good reason. They're small, lightweight, and most importantly, practical. I feel like I don't really need to talk about these because most people will know what they are, but just in case you don't, these are small, lightweight tripods with flexible legs. These allow you to put your camera in a good place and get a good shot wherever you are. I've seen videos where people will wrap the legs of these around trees and just have their camera there. And because they're so light and compact, it means that if you're ever in a situation where you can't take an actual tripod, you can just chuck this into a backpack and know that wherever you go, you'll be able to put your camera on a solid tripod. Just to clarify, I'm not under any kind of sponsored obligation to say this stuff. These are just my own opinions. I love how I say that as if I have any chance of actually having a sponsorship. Anyway, the last item that I use when it comes to making YouTube videos is a simple one, and it's just this. This is my phone. It's an iPhone 6S. And if you want to make YouTube videos but you don't have the budget to get a load of fancy camera equipment, use your phone and use natural light. If it can record in 1080p, you'll be fine. And the 6S is really cool because this can actually film at 4K. There's one other item that I would talk about that would be part of this video if it had arrived yet, but it hasn't. And that's an external microphone that you can use in conjunction with your DSLR, the Rode VideoMic Pro. I wouldn't need something like that for videos like this because I've already got a really good microphone. But when it comes to something like vlogging, the microphones on a DSLR are not that good and they're really, really susceptible to wind as well. It's the kind of thing that's really useful if you're doing vlogs which involve you walking around a lot, which, spoiler alert, there will be a few of coming quite soon. Now, the final and often most arduous stage of making a YouTube video is the editing process. When I first started making these videos, I just used iMovie. It's free, it's functional, it's really, really simple to use, but I found over time that when I was working with longer bits of footage that were all in 1080p, it got a bit laggy and a bit glitchy, and I decided to download the Adobe Creative Cloud. There are some really, really good offers on the software if you're a student. The vast majority of my editing is done in Adobe Premiere Pro. This right here is an example of what the project looked like for my last video. All the purple titles are the numbers that appeared on the screen when I was counting through my records. I can remember when I first opened the software being a little bit skeptical about how well I get on with it, but it was so user-friendly and so smooth as well. There wasn't any of the lag that I'd experienced when I was using iMovie. You've got to remember with anything like this, it's not about the tools that you've got, it's about how well you can use them. If you're incredibly competent at using a software like iMovie and you never require any of the features that you get with other editing software, don't get that other software just for the sake of it. Work with what you know best. So yeah, that is my YouTube setup. I hope you've enjoyed this and potentially find it useful. If you have any questions or things that you think I've missed out, just drop a line down in the comment section. I'll try to answer any questions that you have down there. Other than that, as always, thank you so much for watching. I really, really hope you've enjoyed this. Remember, I have a new cover coming out next week, so I hope you're looking forward to that. Have a fantastic day, and I will see you all very soon.